Anthony Hill Jr., Joe, the number one defender in the SEC for us, an absolutely fantastic year a year ago, 113 tackles with 8 sacks and an interception. What a masterful showing by the guy who, by the way, moved from edge to the middle linebacker spot and did some really good things for the Texas Longhorns this year.
I am so obsessed with watching Anthony Hill Jr. play linebacker, and it's really interesting watching him play. Knowing over the last few years, we've had a lot of these hybrid style linebackers. We've had a lot of hybrid style players, but there's been a lot of focus on Micah Parsons in the NFL. There was a lot of fanfare for Harold Perkins, and he got banged up. There's been a bit of misuse by LSU's defensive coordinators over the past couple of years. Separate conversation for a completely different show. And on top of this, Jalen Walker in this upcoming draft class is going to be highly drafted, playing a hybrid role at Georgia this past year. Yep. Anthony Hill Jr. is the best out of any of these guys not named Micah Parsons, because I see a player who knows how to be consistently disruptive and is a freakish athlete. The stats that we've rattled off here, 8 sacks, 16 tackles for loss. He is in the backfield so much. He is too fast for offensive linemen to catch him at the line of scrimmage when he shoots gaps.
Yep.
He has the athleticism and also quietly the hands to win as a pass rusher. He just needs to improve his instincts a little bit more as an off-ball linebacker, and the 113 tackles he had last year could go up even more. There is no better choice than going with Anthony Hill Jr., knowing what he did as a true freshman and how important he was for Texas's top-ranked defense this past year. He belongs at the top of this list.
See, here's the problem. He only got better inside. I mean, let's go to the Ohio State game when – look, what did Judkins run? A 4.45, I think was his 40.
Yes.
And then he's trying to catch the outside, and you have a defensive end running him down. I mean, basically it's what you're calling him, right? I mean, so you have a guy that was playing off-ball linebacker that one of the faster running backs in the country could not catch the edge on. The problem,
he's a 4.3 guy. He's going to run that fast at the combine when he goes.
He will run that. I mean, you never know. I mean, you never know, but he's tracking him down. Like, because time speed and then like on-field speed, I feel like are two completely different things. He's still catching him. The uniqueness is, I think he's more unique than Micah Parsons is. Like, Micah Parsons moves along the defensive line. He'll go to one edge to the other. So will Abdul Carter or whoever you want to lump in that list. This dude can do both of them. That's the danger in him. Joe, I don't think he has a true position. Like, I think, in a year from now, teams are going to salivate on, bro, we could mix and match, and we can do all this kind of different stuff with him at edge and playing off-ball linebacker. Joe, I can make the argument he's the best off-ball linebacker in the country just because of everything that he brings as a total package. He, by far, for what it's worth, and that front seven of Texas, for what it's worth, is centered around him. Everything that I when I see Texas or teams that try to defend Texas centers around how do they defend him. I think that's why Colin Simmons, who we'll talk about next, went off the way that he did last year, because everybody focuses in on zero. Joe, the thing is I agree with you. Early in the year, some off-ball linebacker stuff kind of hurt him. You talked about shooting gaps and doing different things. He never had played the position, ever, since maybe Little League, right? Like, I mean, okay, cool. He still developed during the season, and we saw someone blossom right in front of our eyes. Joe, I'll be real with you. This time last year, I was wrong on something. I did not know if he could make that massive transition inside. Well, shit, he proved me wrong. I mean, he proved a lot of people wrong because it's just so difficult to do that. But he did. Joe, the thing with him is I do think he needs to get better in coverage, right? I do think Ohio State at the end of the game there kind of exposed him for what it's worth. But it doesn't matter. Like, the running game is where he was the most proficient, and still getting after quarterback is where he's most proficient. He's an absolutely electric player. And which talked about, I mean, it freed up the true freshman in Colin Simmons.
Right. To round out with Anthony Hill, though, you just brought up, I think, like a really key point. The thing that I always get really juiced up about when I'm watching a prospect is a prospect when they're improving on a game-by-game basis, when they're getting better. Abdul Carter has been a guy that I've brought up a lot this cycle on why he is the best prospect in the class. And it's because introduced to a new situation, a new setting, and not only did he win with his athleticism, but on a game-by-game basis, he was finding ways to improve and to get better, and he was showing more nuance for the position.
Yes.
That is what separates just a good athlete who's just out there on the field making plays and a premier athlete that is improving and getting better and becoming one of the top players at his position. I really think at the end of this year, we're going to be talking about Anthony Hill Jr. as one of the best linebackers, best defensive players in the history of the sport. He could be that good. He's played and he's been this productive in his first 2 years. He's had no time to just like sit and learn and to physically develop. He's just been thrown right into the mix. I don't think that's crazy to say if he plays his potential.
I can't go there with the defenders that we've had in the last decade.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, like, for an example, Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. I know that that's different, but
yeah, I wouldn't put him in that package. I wouldn't
put him there. The problem with not putting him and lumping him in is you can't hurt him for playing both sides of the ball either. Like, he might be the best receiver and he might be the best cover corner. Hey, we're giving you the benefit of the doubt of being an edge rusher and an off-ball linebacker. Why am I not giving Travis Hunter that same situation here? I get what you're saying, but I think of all right, Homer alert. I think of Tyrann Mathieu. Like Tyrann Mathieu, like people forget like the 11 turnovers, then the touchdowns, like what 7 touchdowns as a defender. Like I don't know if I can put him in that specific category. Okay, but shit, he ain't far behind it. I'm not off with you on saying that. He ain't far behind it. He just gonna have to have one hell of a special year, and sometimes things just gotta fall your way. But arguably might be the best pass rusher on their team, definitely the best linebacker in the SEC. Gotta get better in coverage. I think that he, had some issues there, but like we said, it freed up guys like Colin Simmons, who we'll talk about now, who Joe, shit. Dude, they're the best front seven in the country. I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't care what anybody says. We talked about Anthony Hill Jr. here, but I got Colin Simmons in 3, and so do you. Let's go ahead and lump them in together here. I mean, Joe, 2 top 3 defenders on the same team. Everything that Anthony Hill does frees up guys like Colin Simmons. God, but Colin Simmons is just so damn good. In the playoffs, really validated that top 10 ranking coming out of high school.
I don't think people realize how insane it is that Texas in back-to-back years have had true freshman defenders that have immediately stepped in and played at the same level as some juniors or most juniors in the country would. 9 sacks, 14 tackles for loss. Just a freaky, natural kid that just knows how to go out there and win. Showed some detail to playing the position, some technique, and he's not just trying to go out there and win as an athlete. He's another player as he fills out and he gets coached up more and more.
Yep.
I'm attracted to knowing what he's going to do and how much better he possibly could get. This is a player that has future first rounder written all over him. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up being a future first rounder. I just hope that he has more of a progression than a guy like Mykel Williams. 2 years ago, we talked about Mykel Williams coming into his second season and how he showed so much promise, but he never took that step forward. He kind of just stayed the same. Colin Simmons takes the step forward, he will go on to be one of the best defenders in college football and only add to his sack total.
The 48 tackles that he had, the double-digit tackles for loss, the 9 sacks, none of that, and I mean absolutely none of that means shit for me. Can I tell you why?
Why?
SEC championship game, Georgia cannot run the football. Trevor Etienne busts one for the first time to the outside. Game is on the line. He tracks down a running back from the far hash to the sideline to prevent Georgia from getting 7. They'd have to kick a field goal. Now, they'll ultimately win the game. Game is on the line. When you have these elite and special individuals, we question motor, we question heart, We question integrity sometimes. Some people do. The kid was probably asking $1 million coming out of high school, and there's 133 teams in the country that would pay $1 million today to go and get him. It's the intangibles, the stuff that you cannot teach. Joe, he had one move. Everybody knew what he was doing. And look, he's going to have to work on that, right? Like, I mean, people now know what you're going to do. They've had a whole offseason to work on it. The little dip and rip move, good luck on it, okay? Because people are going to be ready for it. You better spin inside. You better do a little fake inside. You better do a lot of different things because people will be ready for it. Here's the problem. I never have to worry about effort, ever. And here's the thing. He didn't start.
Right. He was rotating for the most part. And that was the production that he produced.
He was a third of their – Trey Moore was the guy that started ahead of him. Trey Moore started over Colin Simmons until the Ohio State game. Go and look it up. I went and looked it up today. They said that he had starts. That's bullshit. How much Texas football did we watch? A lot, because we talked about Vandy. We talked about Georgia twice. He was not in the starting rotation in that first series. Now, you can consider him a starter however you want to do it. Joe, he did this as a part-time player.
When I ripped through watching his film, that was like the first observation to me. And like, I didn't check how many starts he had. I knew he wasn't, they had so many different guys that they were playing that he wasn't like on the field every single snap. But when I was watching him, it was like, all right, next play. Oh, he's on the field. Next play. Oh, he's back on the field again. There were a lot of gaps between he was on the field. So that plays to the nuttiness of this, that he had 9 sacks and 14 tackles for loss.
Harold Perkins did.
I think you got to just keep him on the field. Yeah, you got to just keep this kid on the field and let him continue to grow and to develop.
Hot take time. You ready?
Oh, no. Okay. What do you got?
Got to get better in the running game.
That I feel is a natural concern for a freshman defensive lineman, and that's probably why he wasn't a full-time starter. He didn't have the weight in his ass to be a kick-ass run defender.
He did. Can we call a spade for a minute? Let's call it like we see it. When he came on the field, they checked at the line, Ohio State, and they ran the ball right at him. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, like, I'm not – we said the same thing for a lot of these elite pass rushes. Guess what we're about to do next? We're going to talk about Dylan Stewart. Guess what? Same exact thing happened. So this is not a shot at him at all. He's got to be better in the run game. You can't be just coming in and out on third down and be a pass rush specialist if you want to be elite. But I'm not worried about that with him. I think he will be elite. I'm not worried about it, nor should you be worried about it. I think he's going to be very special. And here's the thing. Name a better duo at edge than Anthony Hill Jr. in some situations and Colin Simmons.
That's what I want to elaborate on here to close out this talking point with these lists. They create the best front seven in college football.
Without
the remaining cast is good, but when you have 2 former 5-stars, there were 2 of the most recruited players at their positions in their respective classes that have played as well as they have this early on in their careers. The rest of the supporting cast just needs to be decent, good, quality players, and they've got better than that. This Texas front seven is going to carry them through a lot of important victories. They need Arch, and we have spent enough time talking about him, so we're not going to keep talking about him right now. But I really do believe that Texas winning a national title, or at least competing for one and reaching one, is going to be off of the backs of their defensive line kicking the crap out of opponents. There are going to be games like we've seen in the past with Georgia. Maybe not to the degree of that 2022 team, but how many times did we see Georgia in the past where it was like, man, defensive line won the damn game. Nobody can get the ball out. They can't run the ball. That is what it's going to be like, I think, this year with Texas.
I said this in the open. I just want to emphasize this again. I'm 1,000% with what the statement that you just made. Don't disagree. You're replacing what I thought was the best safety in the SEC a year ago in Makumba. Okay. The corner, Barron, or you replace
Barron.
Right, Jahdae Barron. Does Derek Williams come back and does he have a steady production with him? I understand that the front seven will win you championships. It did it for Georgia. I also remember when that defensive front for Georgia got locked down by Bama in that SEC championship game, and they couldn't produce. And Bryce Young and the boys, and even the following year, Jalen Milroe and the boys went in there and beat you. So just to specify, I'm with you. They are the best front seven in the nation. The back end scares me. You losing your DBs coach. You're also like having to replace a lot. That's a lot to overcome, regardless of how much you stack 5 stars.